I'm Gillian Wegener. I'm the president of Modesto Stanislaus Poetry Center, and I get to do the hosting tonight, so I'm thrilled about that too. Manny Morenno is of Yaqui-Tarascan descent and an enrolled member of the state-recognized tribal group of the Texas Band of Yaqui Indians. His 5 published I have to make sure my pages are in order. His 5 published works include poetry collections, memoirs, and a remembrance of Navajo elders Harry Jack and Barry Beaver Turner. His poems have appeared in Song of the San Joaquin, Incha Poesia, and Whispering Thunder. He was a Pushcart Prize nominee in 2011 and Poet of the Month for Moontide Press in 2012. Moreno is a sun dancer and a member of the Black Wolf Honor Society Gord Clan, a Native American church. Manny was brought out and introduced as a community elder at a powwow in Stockton, and he has served the Native community as a spiritual leader. Manny has a new book out, which I'm super excited about, called Santa Nella Blues. It was just published earlier this year and was created with support and funding from the Heartland Creative Corps, California Arts Council, Merced United Way, and the Merced County Art Council. And besides all of that, Manny is an accomplished artist. This new book, Santa Nella Blues, features some of his art amongst his poems. And there's an example of his art framed on the table back there as well, so that you can take a look at that. It's really, really beautiful. So I am very happy to introduce Manny Morenno.
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I want to acknowledge some people here that have helped me in the past. Lillian, my mentor here, got my books out. And I got my friend Richard right there. See that man right there? That's my high school buddy. And, of course, Lynn and her husband have helped me to get, I guess, through life, too. I want to open up with a song. I feel kind of weak right now, but I can do it. Yahweh, oh hey, Yahweh, oh hey, Yahweh, oh hey, hey, Yahweh, hi, Yahweh, oh hi, Yahweh, oh hey, oh hey, hey, oh, Yahweh, oh hey, Yahweh, oh hey, Yahweh, hi, Yahweh, oh hey. First poem I'm going to read is my book here, Santa Nella Blues. You know, I was asked to write about the area. I guess they wanted to know how the world is there. And it's poverty for the people where I live. In fact, there was a fire the other day, and they turned off our electricity and gas for 3 days. And we couldn't get a hold of anybody to turn it on till Monday. And a year before this, a transformer blew out. All of them farm-working families were without electricity for a whole year because they were finagling who should pay for it. Those things caused me to write in the past, growing up the way I did. We were farm workers. You got Felix Alvarez right here. He was a member of El Teatro Campesino and had his own teatro. I remember him when I was just in the 6th grade when they came from Texas. When they came like, how did they say it, the refrigerator and stove on the car. I remember his grandparents. Because right now I'm at a point in my life, you know, I'm not as young as I was. I'm 69 now. And so, yeah, I look at life a little differently. And especially when it comes to understanding, you know, our voice is my voice. I felt wasn't given the respect that it should. I was writing about our experience. And people would tell me, no, you don't want to write like that, Manny. Put this. I go, no, I'm telling you the truth. So I'm going to read this poem. It's called The Defining. It's a little long, but it gets the point, how all this starts. The defining. They who try to define me want to confine me, but I know where I come from, who I am. I was born a Moreno, recorded on paper, a hyphenated American, racially profiled from the gate. My future mapped out by colonizer design to exist under their control for all of my life. My mind, my spirit, my soul. Their European systems, values, religions, distorted history, their indoctrinations, precepts, laws, education, entertainment, oaths, their everything belonging to them, leaves me naked to society and the world. My identity determined by their definition of who I am, how I'm to be regarded as, nothing more than a shell of my ancestral heritage, of no consequence, no value, dehumanized. To play the role they have created for me to be accepted, total assimilation, an imposter to myself, a ball of confusion, a mongrel at best, rage. My response to all they have destroyed and continue to destroy is to keep learning. Iton Yoem Noki, our ancient language, our history and heritage, to keep our tradition alive, to honor our ancestors. Itnepo Imautiak Way Tukte Yaqui Yoime. I am proud to be Yaqui. I owe no explanations. I have no need to justify. I don't have to ask for permission. I am just responding to what has been forced upon me for centuries. And like my ancestors before me, I live with their inheritance, the fire of resistance, a ceremony, a song, a prayer. Truth cannot be extinguished, cannot be denied. Paz, into, wata, peace and love. There's this lady that was on, everybody's having a hard time right now. Me too, I'm on fixed income, Social Security. So I sell books to try to make little ends meet. I don't get rich, I don't get popular. But there are people out there, you'll see them selling flowers by the road. You'll see them selling juices by the road. You'll see them trying to do something to survive. They're not criminals. They're not rapists and all these things that these sick people are talking about. These people are hardworking. I come from that group. So does he. Richard knows our town. Nobody there was raping people. None of us were taking nobody's land. And for the Mexican people there, the farm workers, nobody here will be eating if they didn't have them to work in this 120-degree heat. Go out there in them fields. Stay 5 minutes standing out there. You'll know what I mean. I worked the fields when I was young. And it's hard. But they're doing it to provide for their families. So when you hear the politics of all this noise about how we are all these things, how can it be when there's no evidence of it? There's no evidence. In fact, more people here, citizens, create crimes. It ain't them. And it's not to be mean to people and tell them this. It's to wake them up. They're trying to do this destruction to this country now. That kind of racism is what I talk about. Those kind of people. Those kind of Europeans. For some reason, they think they have a God-given right to have everything. And the rest of us have nothing. Why is that? It's a sickness of the human soul. So I'm going to read this poem here. Tamale Senora. She couldn't even do this. Tamale Senora on Marsh Street. In the beginning, in the early years, getting to know the area, there was an elder senora, very kind, with an ice chest full of tamales she sold in front of the store when the crooked owner ran it. They were delicious, green and red sauced ones, chicken and pork, steaming hot. And if I didn't have enough on me, she said I could pay her next time. Then the last time I bought some, she said the owner told her to stop because she took away business. But the tamales he tried to sell had no love put into them. Like the senoras, his were tasteless, mystery meat, imitations, thinner than a big hunk, and more expensive. So, there was another lady. She was an old white lady. She was about this big. And she walked around like this. Because she was old, I guess. She'd walk around like this. I used to wave at her. She wouldn't wave at me. So I got a story about her. This elderly woman lived on the corner of South Jupiter and Comet Street in a nice big mobile home. She kept sparkling clean outside. No weeds or litter on the grounds. Frail and pale she was, hair white as snow. Gently, slowly, step by step, hunched over, she kept on going. I remember when I first waved at her in passing how she never waved back as she was glancing. I took it personal for a long time, but I kept on waving anyway whenever I passed by. One day she finally smiled at me and waved. It made my day brighter, and from then on she always did. Oh, yeah. Yo kwe, hey, 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 yo kwe, hanna, hanna, hanna way, hanna, hanna, hanna way. Yo kwe, hey, hey, yo kwe, hey, 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 yo kwe, hanna, hanna, hanna way, hanna, hanna, hanna way. Oh. Into the sun. You know, I've gone 5 years to South Dakota to Sundance on the Greengrass Indian, Lakota Indian Reservation. And I remember one day I was in the circle. It's hard. I don't know if you know. Anybody here know what a Sundance is? Any of you? Yeah, we go without food and water for 4 days, sweat 2 times in the lodge, and then we dance in the sun until we're depleted. They lay us down, they take knives, poke them through my chest, stick bones in there, and hang me on a tree with a rope. And I have to break loose. I'm a pipe carrier. I got to do that for the people. I got to carry that the rest of my life. And I have to walk in a certain way. And those things are old, ancient ceremonies on this continent, on this land. So I've done that. You'll see in my book that those ceremonies are not just playing around stuff, you know. And then when I walked around the circle to shake everybody on the reservation's hand, they're like this. The Indians there. Because they've been dispirited so much by this government. They can't even have a store on their reservation. They can't have any business over there. It's poverty. It's poverty all around you. There's poverty in this country, and then there's Indian poverty. Do you know the fried bread? People enjoy it now. They eat it. But how that started was in, I guess it was in Georgia or somewhere, where they gave them lard that was rotten and flour that had all kinds of junk in it. That's what they gave them to survive on. Into the sun. On a muggy, hot San Joaquin Valley day, after a day's work cleaning the state parks, the grounds, the garbage, and porta potties, people can be pigs. Exhausted, I'm thinking, sweaty and filthy, is this the best I can do? My mind looks forward to the comfort of my couch as I drive off into traffic, to Rotten Robbie's for gas and a Monster to quench my thirst. Not in a million years would I imagine running into a Lakota elder. He was also a medicine man. Greengrass, South Dakota, buckshot. He was a Vietnam veteran. He had so many medals on him, he never liked to show them though. He was a Green Beret in Vietnam. He was a straight up warrior, the kind that he shed shivers when I stood by. I go, oh, hey buckshot, how you doing? 'Cause, you know, that's that power they hold. Buckshot has passed, we Sundance for 5 summers, suffered for the people. Buckshot is passing through on his way to run ceremony down south. We drive to the reservoir down the road and park next to the red willows. And we sit on a bench and talk a while in the warm, mild breezes by the moonlit water. He always has good words to share. Just keep being Manny. It's good that way, the warrior way. It is getting late and Buckshot has to hit the road and I have to head home. He says, see you at Sundance. And I say, oh. That was the last time I saw Buckshot. Heard through the grapevine, he journeyed to the spirit world. And with him went a library of indigenous knowledge, older than America, into the sun. Lost knowledge, only to those he taught. I'm one of them. You know, when I come to Modesto, I see a lot of homeless people out here in the parks. I mean, just anywhere. You see, and it's everywhere in the valley now. It's not just Modesto. I lived in Stockton, so I've seen that for years. But they're human beings too, you know. This guy Dan is a nice guy, but he, for whatever happened to his life, like all of us, we make the choices we make, and sometimes it takes us down a dark road. But he was a good man. He is a good man. Okay, this one was called Roughing It. I met old Dan not long after moving here. A big blonde itinerant who all these years has lived a solitary nowhere man life in a beat up Ford van in a field in the dark by the big oleanders next to where the truckers sometimes park overnight. He's held a day job without benefits for years, holding out a cardboard sign. Out of work, please help, with a can for donations, flopped like a sack of potatoes on a bucket, turning red like a tomato, about to explode under the searing summer sun at the off-ramps. I ran into Dan at the Quick Stop the other day. Time and a rough life have chiseled his face. Looks twice his age, smelly, filthy, tore up from the floor up. He eyes tethered to the earth, 1 foot in the grave. He's not the only Dan out here. You know, poetry for me has been my voice since I was a kid, but I could never get nowhere because people would tell me, like I said, you don't want to write that. No, change this, change that. I said, man, you're taking away my voice. So I never got the opportunity until I came to Modesto. My grandparents came to Modesto, both my grandpa and grandma, with their families, in 1918. They worked the Southern Pacific Railroads till he retired. He got married in Stockton in 1919. I used to come to Modesto on 7th Street when they had the railroad. Does anybody remember them? The railroad section houses, the orange ones. I would stay there with my son and my uncle. And I remember back then they were called hobos. They weren't drug addicts or really that bad. They were just carrying their stuff, but they were the coolest guys I ever met. I could go up to them and talk to them like as a kid, and they go, "How you doing, young man? Okay, you got anything to give me? Candy or something, you know?" Yeah, it was a neat life. Onions in Manteca. Onions stopped on a hot, windy afternoon. Pennies for each full sack. I observe others, families, race to get so many as humanly possible. Excuse me, dinner depends on this. Rent, gas, clothes depend on this. Pennies for each full sack in my wake stand. Evidence of my sweat marked with chalk. My number for my pay, enough for tonight's cold 6-pack of talls. For when we sit in the evening shooting the breeze. Boasting how on the morrow we outdo each other, like burros in a race, and brag about blisters Yeah. Blisters are, back then I remember when we picked up topped onions, we had to use these kind of metal homemade shears and fill up these big sacks. They were about that big. And they only gave us like 40 cents a sack. So you figure how much work you got to do that. I've worked in the fields where the owner on the weekend took off, didn't pay us. And we didn't get no pay in the cherries. I've worked in apricots, watermelons, sweet potatoes, just about anything you can name around here in this valley at one time or another. I didn't think it was so bad because out there they're singing as they're working, and I'm watching them go, what did they sing about? These guys are running. They're running to dump their stuff because they need to make the money for their families. And here I was like this. Oh man, this guy's too much. I got to, that's hard work. But they did it, and that's why I like to give credit always to the field workers. This is a picture of my grandpa and grandma in 1918. I put it all together, and I'm glad I did, you know. Now my family, all my nieces and nephews, and the next 7 generations that are coming, they'll know when they have their struggles to read about our struggles and how we dealt with them. We never turned to violence. We didn't turn to that. In fact, Cesar Chavez, this whole movement was nonviolent. And I remember one time we were marching in Manteca, and they put me as a monitor to keep the line, you know, away from the road. And these farmers guys came around. They started spitting at us, spitting on the old ladies that were elders walking. Of course, I'm young. I get mad. I pick up rocks and just go after them. They had to stop me, and because when I get angry, you can't control that, man. You got to be careful. When I'm young, it's like a lot of us, we were really angry, walking around with this weight on us. No respect given to us, nothing. I give up who I am to become who they wanted me to be. I found that offensive, but I was made out to be the bad guy. So I go, you know, I got to find something to do here, because man, they don't give us no respect. And I'm talking about the type of people that are trying to take over this country now. Those kind of people, the haters. They think, when they look at me, I tell them, you're looking at somebody who's a descendant, because our people on these lands go back thousands of years, not 400 something years. We go back thousands. And when you have those kind of people trying to tell me, I said, you know, you're peeing on my leg and telling me it's raining. That ain't gonna work. You know? It ain't gonna work. This is my other book, Longview Road. I got, I think, one over there in the back. I don't know. This is my first book, The Bridge Is Gone. And of course, I got Santa Nella Blues in the back. By selling these books, all they do is help me to get gas, to get home, and places and do things. Here's another one I like for the Indian, except for Tonto. In grade school, little brown boys and girls deliberately, progressively, systematically are colonized to believe our indigenous ancestors were savages, unintelligent babies, needing salvation in the symbol of the cross of their own God they crucified, to be civilized, to stay alive, to fit in with their barbaric jive. But at home, Grandpa says, con corazón, tú eres indio, Yaqui-Tarascan. Never forget, never be ashamed. When I watched Indians, white people dressed like Indians, on TV and at the movies, they almost lost at everything. No matter how good they were at anything. Never equals to the fork-tongued paleface. On Friday and Saturday nights, on the big silver screen. At Court Theater, the Indians always got shot off their ponies, like 3 from a single bullet, by a blue coat looking all brave, left there where they fell to die, in the blazing sun out in some God-forsaken desert no one comes back to bury. No eulogies for them. No gathering around a grave. I listened to Grandpa and understood him well, but I never saw Indians in any movie high jump that bar to portray them fully human, except for Tonto, who wasn't really dumb. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I got 28 years now without alcohol. I was dying from it. I got scars where I got my guts out. I mean, I just went through a mess in my life, and that was because alcohol was something that it wasn't God no more. It was, this is what will comfort me. This will take the anger out. And I would go to bars and places and do things to others who I saw as my enemy. And I hurt people bad. And they hurt me. They stabbed me and all these other things. The pain of forgiving. Do I forgive the great mystery for taking mom and dad in the prime of their lives when we needed them most? Do I forgive the great mystery for the means of prosperity, for the manna of prosperity that never rained on us, for the hand-me-downs, let-me-downs, ridicule and shame? Do I forgive Mr. Nelson, the hippie wannabe 7th grade teacher who slammed his bony knuckles on the top of my head, made me nearly black out for dozing off in his story class? Do I forgive myself for decades drinking, doping, car wrecks, emergency rooms, detox recovery centers, jails, for the scuffles and rage and shame and pain I brought mother, family, and people I beat along the way? Do I forgive the American dreams and miserable, undeniable borders of hate, bigotry, closed doors, disappointments, cultural trauma? The pain of forgiving howls, rains, flowers. Oh, wanna hear yo. 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 Yo wanna hear yo. Yo wanna hear no yo. Oh, wanna hear 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 yo. You wanna hear yo. You wanna hear no. Thank you.